How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the very last box to box for the Premier League season 2021-22. It is game week 38. I'm here with Mike from the Blue Boys Network. A very happy Mike indeed, because this is off the back of Everton confirming their place in the Premier League season next season after beating Palace from 2-0 down at half-time last night. Mike, talk to me a bit about how you're feeling, because you must be over the moon.
Mate, honestly, it was... my voice is still not quite with me. Do you get what I mean? Like 2-0 down. You know, there was people. This sounds ridiculous, and like I appreciate that people will be able to take shots at Everton here, but this club hasn't been relegated in 68 years. There's people in the stands yesterday crying because at 2-0 down, going away to Arsenal last game of the season, knowing we have to win to stay in the Premier League, was horrible. It was horrible. There was people crying. I was sitting there. I weren't crying, but I was close to it, and I had no emotion. Like I was broken. Like the football club broke me wholeheartedly last night, and I felt like it was the end of the world. Like it was really weird. And then as soon as we got the first goal back, I thought, please just get a point, because then at least if we go to Arsenal, we've played well against the better teams, maybe we can get a point, and that'll keep us up because of goal difference with Leeds. But mate, to win 3-2, to turn it round for at the end of the game, not the ones on the 85th minute, but on the end of the game, to essentially just be let onto the pitch to celebrate together as a collection of fans. It was lovely. And for the 95% of fans that were really great last night, it was a really wholesome family moment yesterday where Everton Football Club, all of the problems sort of got brushed aside just for that 5, 10, 15 minutes after that game. And we were a complete family, all united, all happily, all singing. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Half-time must have been such a I can't even imagine the mood at halftime amongst the Everton fans, because like you said, 2-0 down, having to go to Arsenal away the last day of the season, and at that time, you know, Burnley had, I think, scored against Villa at that time, so it looked like, you know, the damage was being done already before the Arsenal game, and then to turn it around in 45 minutes, it doesn't make you forget about the season, but essentially it gets you looking forward to next season now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, you know, some fans at 45 minutes, some were angry, some were sad, some were emotional, some weren't particularly bothered, and that was all because, you know, if they weren't bothered, it was because they've already realised it, they'd already accepted they were going down. If they were angry, it's because these were guys that were fighting with the flares, they were ready to go, they wanted to go into battle. You know, there was fans that were optimistic. You know, we can turn this round for Everton Football Club, Spirit of the Blues, etc. You know, we've all heard of these. You know, these fans coming together, and the scenes outside Goodison, where every single game has looked like it's a cup final, but actually, these boys are just playing Brentford and Palace. Like, what must Brentford and Palace have thought going into that game? And the Brentford game was too much. The Palace game was mad. And for us to come out the back of that, as you say, Turkish, look, we know after all of the money that we have wasted, and I have come on your show, I've come on Robbie's show, I've come on loads of shows and said, we have wasted millions of pounds. But at least last night was an opportunity to press reset on that. And I will give credit to Lampard, because although he hasn't been brilliant, he's not been bad. And he's also got the players and the fans together. And that was the biggest job. And he did that. So it's encouraging for next season, but it's baby steps with Everton. Baby steps.
Must be a huge learning curve for Lampard as well. Because, listen, I know he's managed at Derby, and then all of a sudden he's managing at Chelsea, making top 4 and Champions League football, and then getting sacked, and then coming into a relegation battle. And it mustn't have been easy for him. But he's managed to get out of it, you know, and this learning curve for him might bode well in the future. Like you said, you know, one of the biggest things he had to do was connect the club back up to the fans. I think Arteta had to do that when he first came through the door at Arsenal. Speaking about the game more on Sunday, Mike, from an Arsenal perspective, is it better that you lot have, you know, secured your safety and you have pretty much nothing to play for on Sunday, or would it have been better for us to have you guys coming in under pressure, needing to win? How are you feeling come Sunday now?
Yeah, and so this is going to sound awful. Yeah, this is going to sound awful, but I don't care. And it sounds awful because I can imagine the players, yes, they'll be professional. They've got a job to do. But if they'd have gone there having to literally play dogged, determined, horrendous football, the sort of stuff that we played at Anfield, that would have been horrible for Arsenal fans to witness. Because look, I'm not sitting here slagging Arsenal at all. I've always respected Arsenal, but at times over the last few weeks, they've struggled to break teams down a little bit, or they've conceded silly goals. And I'm not saying I would have fancied Everton to get 3 points, but I would have fancied us to get a point. We've played well against these teams. Now we won last night. It doesn't matter. So from an Everton perspective, I don't even think the players are going to be too bothered, because we all just want this season to end. The players, the board, the manager, the fans, we all just, that's it. That's it. It's done, finished. So I honestly don't think you're going to play an Everton team that's particularly bothered. I don't think it'll be a pasting, just because they won't want to embarrass themselves. But I don't think Everton win this game, if I'm being brutally honest.
Well, and you're playing a team that, well, from my perspective, I want the season to be over now as well, because in the past few weeks, we've pretty much thrown away all the good work that we seem to have done coming up to the last international break, being in the top four. Losing to Palace, Brighton and Southampton seemed to have buried our chances, but we bounced back against United, Chelsea, West Ham, Leeds, and then we seem to throw it away again at Tottenham, at Newcastle, and now we're going into the last game of the season at home to Everton, needing Norwich to beat Tottenham, not take a point, to beat Tottenham. So, miracles happen every so often, but this one ain't happening. So I'm pretty much like you, season seems done. It's time to move on now and essentially forget about it. Mikel Arteta, Mike, we've spoken about him in the past. Every week on Box to Box, I tend to ask the opposition fan their thoughts on him. Throughout the season, it's changed. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. You've given him credit in the past. You thought that he turned the corner with the side not too long ago. What's your general feeling now? Because again, the Arsenal fans seem divided. It's a failure of a season, not making top four from the position we're in. And then you'll have some saying that, at the beginning of the season, no one expected us to be in the position we're in. I'm more the former. It does feel like failure. Yeah. Outside looking in, what do you think, Mike?
So, yeah, it's interesting because I get both perspectives. Being an outsider, I understand. And I like to think that I analyse football fairly well. And when I looked at Arteta at the start of the season and you'd lost your first 3 games, you were rock bottom. Spurs fans were absolutely loving it, taking the piss, etc., etc., etc. A lot of clubs were joking about Aaron Ramsdale, the fact you'd signed him and he'd been relegated, etc., of all the clubs. I thought Arteta would be gone by October. I was convinced he would go, and I expected you to go and get a Conte or someone like that, some experience, a Ten Hag, somebody to put Arsenal in that position that, over the last 10 years, 5 years, you could argue that they've fallen from. Yeah. So that's what I expected, but he seemed to turn it round. He went on a really good run of form. I think Everton was the only team that I think you lost to over a 3-month period at Goodison Park, a game that we come back from behind, one of those magic nights at Goodison. But apart from that game, you looked like a top 4 side. You actually looked like you'd finished 3rd when Chelsea started to fall apart.
Yeah, there was that Man United loss a few weeks before your one, where we should have won it. But I guess with Man United away, you can understand a bit of a slip up. It was the Everton one that really let us down. Yeah,
exactly. So I sort of thought, Arsenal are going to do it. Arteta's learnt his lesson. That was a big thing. He's learnt his lesson because last season was so disappointing for Arsenal. He learnt his lesson. And actually, with the way that the season has ended, the 6 defeats in 10 or whatever it is, I feel like he's bottled it. And that's not a disrespect to Arsenal, but I feel like if you had an experienced manager, and we've discussed this before, like a Conte, and it's horrible to say, like a Ten Hag, like a someone who's got more experience of getting teams into that level, I don't think you lose to Newcastle. I don't think you lose in the way you lost to Spurs. You might get a draw. You might win the game. The divide was scary. The Southampton result at home or some of the other results at home shocked me. So for me, if you finish in the Europa League this season from where you were, fine. You've got to win the competition next season, in my opinion. And if you don't challenge the top four, then no lesson's been learnt. So in my opinion, I would change Arteta in this summer. I literally would change him. I'd say, look, we appreciate what you've done. We appreciate the 5th place finish, but it's time to go and we need to go and get some experience. And I don't know who that manager is right now, but that's what you need, in my opinion.
Yeah, nor do I. I mean, at the end of last season, when I felt pretty similar to how I'm feeling now, and I said we've got to, look at replacing Arteta. Antonio Conte was on the market, and we didn't even entertain it. And look now, Antonio Conte is at Tottenham, and it looks like he's got them over the line for top 4. I agree with you in terms of there's not an outstanding candidate for me, but I also agree with you that I've said it in the past few weeks. You can move on and still appreciate some of the decent work that's been done, like the foundation, the base, to get clearing of the dead wood and bringing in some young talent. Another manager can build upon that, and you might look back and say, credit to Arteta for starting it off. But I don't think he's got the experience to, like you said, really go into next season and really kick on from where we are now, considering United are making big changes, considering Tottenham have already made big changes that have resulted in Champions League football, getting the money. And I assume they're going to, make big moves this summer as well. Newcastle's another one. Who knows what they're going to do this summer? You saw how they dispatched of us on Monday.
There's loads of teams that are going to be in this category because there's all of a sudden, say 10, 15 years ago, there was a divide, wasn't there? And it was the top 4 then. It wasn't the top 6. And there was a financial divide between probably Everton, who were 5th, and the top 4, who were Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool, 15 years ago, whatever. That has changed. Whereas now, there is genuinely about 10 teams that can go and spend 150 million this summer. No problem. Like Villa are in there, West Ham are in there, Newcastle are in there. On top of the top 7, you've got Leicester, who won't want to have another poor season. The Premier League has never been so competitive from 3rd downwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's really difficult for Arsenal, who are a big club, have fantastic fans, have always been supported home and away, just like Everton are, traditional big club, only Arsenal are bigger. It's really disappointing when you're seeing all of this new money in the Premier League, which I'm not against that, but they're just buying their way into it. There's no building, there's no blocks being put in place. And that's the one thing I would give Arteta credit for. He spent a lot of money in the summer. He did. But he was trying to build something. It needed that revamp. And he might have only needed to add 2 or 3 players to that. The defence this season, from your perspective, has been poor at times because they've struggled to keep the ball. As soon as Tierney has come out of your back 4, it's like they've fallen apart. So that leadership level that Tierney offers, which is mad to say, bearing in mind he's only been at the club 18 months or whatever it is. So Arsenal, in my opinion, only need a few players. I mean, you're talking 2 or 3, and a manager who will not bottle it. That is it.
Fair enough. I might stretch the 2-3 players to a few more, considering how thin the squad is. But in terms of the first team acquisitions, I'd say, 2-3 players is right. I guess that'll provide some depth because the current first team has then dropped to the bench.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the fullback situation. When I think about the 2-3 additions, I'm thinking about we need 2 strikers for sure. We need 1 or 2 midfielders for sure. And that's without touching in on the fullback situation, because when we look at Tierney, I think he's played 22 games this season. Tomiyasu's played 21. Cedric and Tavares have played 20. So the difference in games between our backup fullbacks and the starting fullbacks is nothing. So we've got, we've either got to increase the level of our backups or start thinking about replacing maybe Tierney in the starting lineup, which is all questions that have to be asked, considering at the end of last season against Villarreal, Tierney injury, Partey throughout the season was injured. It cost us. At the end of this season, pretty much the same thing has cost us. So it's, fool me once and all that, what they're saying. For God's sake, January came and went. We weakened the side, and now we are where we are, looking back thinking, what if we brought one or two players over the line in January? What if we brought a loan signing in like Tottenham did? What if? But it's always what if with Arsenal, because they never really do what they need to do.
Yeah.
There's no excuses. There's always some sort of excuse somewhere. Always, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that has been a problem with Arsenal now. Even before Wenger, when Wenger was there, it was exactly the same. There was times where all you needed was a centre-back or a goalkeeper, and they never pushed the boat out and got him. And that, I remember the season that Leicester won the league, and I think, did you finish runners-up that season?
Yeah, runners-up, yeah.
And it was kind of like, that was such a big chance that season to win the league, because all you actually needed to do in January was, if I remember, bringing a striker or bringing a centre-half or something. And I don't remember them doing anything. And it probably cost you the league that season. And it's always been the same.
It's not the first time. And with this ownership, I don't think it'll be the last time. There's a lot of similar traits coming out of Arteta that, Wenger fell upon towards the end of his Arsenal career. But we'll see. It's in terms of the game on Sunday, Mike, who are you looking at as Arsenal's biggest threat? I know we're down in the dumps, the mood isn't great, and we haven't performed well in the last few games, but do you see an outstanding threat there that you're worried about?
It depends on the injuries for Arsenal, because, so for example, Martinelli, I really highly rate Martinelli, but he just does seem to spend a lot of time not on the pitch.
Yeah.
I really rate him. So if he's in the game, he would be a threat. Saka looked like he's started to come good. It's almost like he's been trying to really push the team on at times in games. I felt like he's done a decent job. And do you know, it's mad I'm saying this, but I really rate Nketiah. And I can't believe it. Like I thought he was dead food in the Premier League. I really did. Like, I just didn't see it, and he's come in, and he's a player. So that pace will hurt Everton if they play.
Yeah, and in terms of Everton, in order for you guys to get something out of the game, who do you think needs to have a big one?
Well, I think the fact that Calvert-Lewin scored last night for the first time in about 30 games. Yeah, I think he will be up for it, because he want to end the season on a positive, so he'll probably be up for it. You have players like Anthony Gordon, Damari Gray, Richarlison. They always are up for it. But honestly, I think a lot of the players in that team will be on the beach. Like I think, last night meant so much to so many people. So I just don't think they're that bothered. If you want a score prediction as your next question, I think it's 2-0 Arsenal.
2-0 Arsenal. Do you know what's mad, Mike? At the beginning of the season, a lot of people would have probably predicted that Arsenal and Everton will be around the same, place in the league. Going into the last game, you lot have just survived relegation. You're over the moon. We've just thrown away our top four hopes, and we're down in the dumps. So we're both going into this game in very different moods for very different reasons.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. But let's end with a prediction, Mike. What are you telling me?
Yeah, 2-0. 2-0, easy 2-0. I just don't think Everton will lay a glove on you. And I don't think they're bothered.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like you in this game. I don't really care unless something wild happens in that Norwich game. This game means nothing to me. But I know at the end of the season, usually there's goals. So I'm going to say a 3-1 Arsenal win.
See, it really wouldn't surprise me if Norwich win. Like, everyone's saying this. Like, I've had loads of people. It wouldn't surprise me, because Norwich have played well against the better teams. So, they've beaten some decent teams at Carroll Road. They've put in decent performances against teams that play aggressive football, because they play through the lines. You saw Timo Pukki. I think it might have been against Chelsea. He had about 3 1-on-1s.
Yeah. So
I don't think it's as much as a foregone conclusion, but I absolutely understand the mood around Arsenal, because it's horrible to say, because I hate saying it, you probably have thrown it away. Mm-hmm. It was yours to lose.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost it, but we'll see. One game to go. We need a miracle. Liverpool need a miracle with Manchester City 1 point ahead of them. And Burnley and Leeds are still going, for that last place in relegation. You lot are safe, and there's still a lot of things to get sorted out this season. Mike, tell them where they can find you. I know I'm going to tag it in the title, but let them know.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, you can find me at Blue Boys Network on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and I really appreciate the support. We're almost at 12,000 subs. This man next to me helped a lot with that last year. So, yeah, if you can support, I really appreciate it.
Nah, I didn't help at all, Mike, man. You're a good guy, good channel, and moving forward, we're going to do a lot more stuff. Obviously, I've got the Big Six channel. I'm going to expand it and whatnot and, include other teams in it.
The bottom six.
Yeah, you might be the ambassador of that one. But Mike, as always, it's a pleasure speaking to you, my guy. Well done on staying up. And we'll talk again in the near future anyway. People, make sure you guys go support Mike at the Blue Boys Network. Link in the tile in the description below as well. As always, love for the love. Let us know your feelings, thoughts, and predictions in the comments section below.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.